Hey y'all, welcome to Adventures with Aggie, brought to you by the Ryan Martin Foundation. Today we have our third episode of the series featuring the USPSA, the United States Power Soccer Association, with Zack Dickey. There were lots of laughs in this episode, so tune in to hear Zack's story. Please welcome Zack. Zack, how are you doing today?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm awesome. Thank you so much for coming on to share your story. I'm excited to get to know more about you and power soccer and Auburn, even though it's not my most favorite place in the world.
Ooh, it's the most
But
beautiful village on the plains. Come on.
I love it. So just to get started, can you tell me who you are and what you do?
Yeah, so my name's Zack Dickey, and I play for the U.S. National Power Soccer Team, as well as I also am a student here at Auburn University and on the Auburn University coaching staff for the wheelchair basketball team here.
Awesome. Love that. Dual sport, that's super exciting. I'm not good enough at one sport to do that. So it's super impressive for you to do too. But how, I guess backing up a little bit, when did you realize that sport was going to be a vital part of your life and this is what you wanted to do?
Yeah, so I don't remember the first time I was around adaptive sports. It was pretty much handed to me. It was pretty much like, this is what you do, and luckily I love it. But my brother and sister were some of the first people in Indiana to play power soccer, specifically my brother Jordan. And so from as early as I can remember, I was running around, not paying attention to any of the games. I was running around playing with friends and eating nachos and all that kind of stuff. But it was really that first time I got in a soccer chair. I was just like, wow, I'm really good at this. You know what I mean? That it sounds cocky, but it was that realization that like this is something that I can do and be great at. Even though that was just me as like a 10-year-old or whatever. Great compared to the other 10-year-olds that I was playing with. But yeah, that it was kind of handed to me. But then that first moment I got in the chair was it was pretty special.
That's awesome. That definitely helps when you're good at it from the start. I feel like,
Oh, for sure.
yeah, I've gone through a lot of sports where I really liked it, but I was really bad at it.
that's that's why we do things like coach. I was never
Yes,
very good at basketball, so
that's funny. Cool. I guess let's talk about that. How did you end up at Auburn?
yeah. So going back to the soccer thing, I played soccer growing up, and one day I saw a video of wheelchair basketball, and I asked my dad, "Hey, do you think I could do that?" And he was like, "Probably not, but we should probably try." And so I went out and tried because my siblings had always used power chairs. So I tried wheelchair basketball, which isn't a manual chair, as you know from the people you've talked to, but I really fell in love with it. I fell in love with defense. I fell in love with the communication aspect. I fell in love with the physicality and all that kind of stuff. But as my disability progressed, it really wasn't always an option for me. I was good enough to be recruited by colleges, and I got recruited by Auburn and was on a scholarship and all that exciting stuff. But when I was here, I couldn't keep up as my disability progressed. So I shifted my focus back to soccer, and then was able to kind of also put some of my energy towards coaching, which is something I'm really passionate about as well.
That's awesome. I love that. I feel like I talk about this a lot on my show because I think a lot of athletes, whether they're playing a sport or coaching a sport, they end up doing one or the other after they stop, if you know what I mean. Like,
Yeah.
even though you didn't play wheelchair basketball, like coaching it is, I think you have a different kind of mindset as a coach when you've been an athlete for whatever team. It doesn't matter at this
Oh,
point.
for sure.
But yeah, you just have a different, I guess, set of eyes.
Yeah.
Not literally, but like a different set of eyes, and like you just see the game in a different way because you've played competitively and stuff.
Oh, for sure. And then one thing that I love to bring to the table is from that former athlete's perspective is I can kind of be like a champion for those guys and kind of like encourage them and translate like this is what the coach said and this is a lot nicer way to put it that he could have said it in or whatever like that. Rob is an amazing coach. But just from that player's perspective, it's something that I can bring to the table because I was there. Yeah.
Definitely, definitely. Because you said Rob, I'm gonna link his episode below so that people can go listen to his.
Perfect. Yeah.
Loves his episode, and he's doing really cool things in Tokyo right now, which is really exciting. But anyway, let's go back to power soccer for a little bit. That's why
Yes.
we're here. So at what point you found the sport, and then how did you find USPSA? When did that come about, or was it the same moment?
Yeah, it was really the same moment for me. So I like I mentioned, like I'd always been around tournaments before, and was always there. But my brothers and sisters teams were way too good for me to play on when I was 10 years old. And so luckily my grandpa actually had started a team in the middle of nowhere, Indiana, Henry County, Indiana. Shout out to the Henry County Hotshots, which is my first team. And so I played in a chair. I played in a chair that he kept in his garage. Um, and like had like fixed up a bunch of chairs, stuff like that. It was really like he had just put it all together, and so that was how I got introduced to the sport. Was through my siblings then, and then my grandpa kind of set up this team and this opportunity through USPSA for me. Yeah.
Did he play as well?
No, my grandpa never played, but so he was just really passionate about it. My whole family was, especially coming so new onto the scene. Like power soccer was brand new in Indiana when my siblings got introduced to it, and there was really a need. And my grandpa and my parents are just both those kind of amazing people where they feel it when they see that need, they're gonna fill it. And so my grandpa just did. He started the team before he knew I was ever gonna play, just for the kids in his area that didn't have access to the teams that were in the bigger cities.
That's awesome. I love that. I think so. You're talking about how like it was a small sport, right? Like you were kind of there at the beginning. And I found power soccer. I wasn't planning on going to a power soccer match the day that I went to the National Wheelchair Games in New York. But yeah, I just came by. I don't know how I hadn't covered power soccer on the show yet, or really like I hadn't dug deep into this sport at all. I knew it existed, and I was like, I don't know. I'm not sure why I didn't know what it was. And then I went to that match and I was like, oh my gosh, we're doing that on the show. And here we are. But I feel like it's grown. I don't know how many years we're talking that you've been in the sport, but I just randomly bumped into it at
Yeah.
these games. And I feel like that's a long way from when you started.
Yeah, so it went from it, before my lifetime, people in, I think, California pushing around a giant ball, right, like this big, and then people in France in like facilities for people with disabilities pushing around a basketball, and like totally two different games, and somehow they like intersected and like made this new sport. And so I've been playing for 10 years, or oh my god, 12 years now. My siblings, I think, close to 20, my brother especially. So yeah, I've got to see it grow from this sport where my brother was pushing the ball around and like everybody was there having a good time, where the rules were barely defined, to now it was nationally televised in England not too long ago. One of their like national tournament games. So to see how far it's progressed, not only just like in publicity, where now like people like you are talking about us, but also in the style of play. Like it used to be just awful to watch. Like really cool concept, just like guys pushing around the ball. But now it's like it is soccer and it's the beautiful game and all that. And so to see that evolution just in my life, I've got to see the evolution of my game and the people that I've been around, but also the game as a whole. It's been really just an amazing opportunity.
I can tell how excited you are about it by listening to you talk about it.
Good.
I love that. Awesome. Cool. I want to have a bit of story time. I've asked Natalie and Riley to kind of share their favorite memories with USPSA. You can take this how you please, but yeah, story time, favorite moments, highlights, something from your career.
Yeah, so I mean, there's like those big shots that you hit for sure. Like I can remember like certain ones that sealed games and then like having a decent sized crowd there and hearing them go kind of crazy. Um, those are always like amazing moments. But then one just like kind of sequence, that really just will forever stick with me, is we had lost, a teammate of mine. He had passed away, Andrew Seaver. Um, and then the season after, it was me and my siblings all playing together. And me and my siblings had played with Andrew since they were like super young. He was one of the first people to ever play. And then they had left to Arizona State. And I moved up to Andrew's team and I was playing with him and gotten really close. And then my siblings moved back. We all got to play with Andrew one year. And then Andrew passed. And so we were really just, nobody said anything. Nobody mentioned it like about, we wanted to win for him. Like we didn't say it out loud, but we all knew that's what we wanted. Like, because we really needed to memorialize him in that moment and win for him. Um, and yeah, so we ended up making like this. really amazing run in the tournament where we were just pretty much unbeatable. There was games where I started to yell at the refs and I stopped and I was like, why am I yelling at the refs when I know Andrew's got our back? Like, I feel like I can't lose because he's over our shoulder watching. And so that was just one amazing. We won the national championship that year. And then another thing that sticks with me about that even more was we had a teammate on the team that year, Emmanuel, and his family just showed out every game. They were super loud. There was a ton of them there, cousins on cousins on cousins, to the point where I was like, "How do you have that many cousins?" And he's like, "Well, technically they're not really cousins, but they're cousins. Like that's what we called them. But just tons of people, and they're just all screaming. And like we ended up getting Emmanuel some goals, and it was great because he was newer to the sport. Then Emmanuel passed away that second year, and so one for us to be able to do that for Andrew and like have him over our shoulders was special. But to be able to do that with Emmanuel and with his family too, that was so special. And so there's that moment where it's just like one of the only times in my life where I felt totally invincible because I knew Andrew had my back. Um, and then there's other stuff like moments more recently where I've had younger athletes come up to me, and whether it's like on my TikTok DMing me and being like, hey, I want to be this, or you're going to college, like how are you doing that, like stuff like that. So it's those big moments where it's like, the beauty of sport, but also those moments where you get to be a role model. Both, I've just been extremely blessed with soccer in general. Yeah.
Definitely. There's only a million things I want to ask you as follow up to these stories you've
Yeah.
shared. But I guess kind of talking about like people looking up to you or like these people that are reaching out to you on your TikTok, which is awesome. It's so interesting. I feel like with this show as well, most of the audience, they're younger athletes that are competing in some kind of adaptive or para sport or something. So like that, you saying that like makes complete sense as to why we're having this conversation right now. Because
Yeah.
that's hopefully they're the same people, I guess, the ones that are
Yeah.
reaching out to you. Maybe they'll find this and listen. But I think that's really great that you already noticed that you kind of play that. I don't know if mentor is the right word, but
Yeah.
role model or something like that. Like you see that there are kids that are
For sure.
doing what you do, which is really cool.
Yeah, I think one of the things that has been the biggest privilege and blessing in my life is having two disabled siblings. They showed me the way, they showed me everything that was possible. And so if I get to be that for a few kids, like that is everything I could ask for. Every World Cup, every MVP, everything like that is worthless if I can't do this for a few kids, like was done for me by all the amazing people that I play with on Team USA now that I look up to, and especially my siblings.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Let's talk about Team USA. We haven't really talked about
Yeah.
all the exciting things that are happening.
Yeah.
Obviously 2013 was a while back, but I want to talk about it. Your experience on under 18 team, and then we'll kind of work our way up to 2022 World Cup, which I'm really
Yeah.
excited about. But yeah, tell us about 2013, how the experience was, and then how you build off of that or have built off of that to now.
Yeah, for sure. 2013 was an amazing experience because I thought that my opportunity to play for Team USA was going to be way, way down the road, like right now. And then all of a sudden, they just put this team together, and it ends up being some of the people that I like am most fond of in all of power soccer. And we put this team together, and really, we had a huge equipment advantage because this new chair called the Strike Force had come out before everybody else. And so we were just able to like run over every team, like just absolutely destroy. But it was really one thing that was cool. We saw Finland, who's like put together a good team now, and they were like a bunch of like 8-year-olds who had never played before. And so like to see them grow was cool. But man, it was just so fun. It was fun. Like we went down the street one night. This is my favorite story from Paris because I could barely remember the soccer because it just was soccer. Yeah. But my favorite story from Paris is one night we're looking for a place to eat, and one of the parents is like, we cannot find anything accessible. So one of the parents just runs down the street and he's asking every store as we're just casually strolling along, or every restaurant. And one restaurant's like, yeah, we're accessible. And he's like, doesn't see the ramp, but he assumes there's like a back entrance or whatever. There's not a back entrance. And we show up there and they like look at us, look at our wheelchairs, and then like look inside. And then they like shrug and like look at each other and say something in French. I have no idea what they say because I do not speak French. And then they bring the tables out to the streets. So we're having pizza and like a fancy dinner, like fancy, but we all ordered pizza because we were kids. Um, and we're having like dinner on the streets of Paris. Like you could see the stars out. Oh my God, it was so beautiful. I really don't remember much about the soccer. I remember like having fun, scoring a lot of goals, but like I would never forget that moment for sure.
That's a crazy story. That's a crazy story. But I think that's so crazy that it any of those shops could have done that, right? They could have brought it
Yeah,
out there, but that one, the fact that they thought of that too is really, really cool. And
yeah,
eating on the streets of Paris is just so picturesque and movie like that.
exactly. I have one thing I want to show you
Yeah,
from Paris. I just remembered.
I'm so excited.
Okay, so it's super random. Oh God, if I could even reach it. I've kept it this whole time. Actually, it just kind of broke, but that's okay. It doesn't matter. So we were sitting out the last night after the banquet, and the Irish team is all drunk. It was an under 18 tournament, but they're
Yeah.
Irish. So they're all just very drunk because the laws are different there. And they're like, "You're gonna be on the US team one day." And I was like, "Oh, that'd be cool. Like maybe. Like everybody's a lot better than me, but maybe one day." I'm sure I was that humble at the time, being a 13-year-old, but we'll say that I was. Uh, and so I was like, "Well, I'll have to have something to remember you guys." And like when you go to a hotel and they have all the pamphlets on the wall,
Yeah.
like, and you can like take one, and there's like cardboard cutouts of stuff like above it. They just ripped one off
Oh
and
my,
signed it on the back. So I have this, and it's got all of their signatures on it. It says Zach and USA, best of luck. Hope to see you again. Good luck with
oh,
the World Cup. Like they all signed it, just like, and
that's
it's I don't even. It's like
cute.
it says Park Asterix Paris, and it's like a roller coaster thing. But I've had it in my dorm ever since, or in my room. Yeah,
Oh
it's like
my gosh.
by far my favorite thing that I got there.
That's such a great story. I love that. Oh my gosh. And now you're here and now you're doing it. And
I
they
know, right? Oh, it's definitely coming to Australia with me. 100%.
yes, please, you have to. That's awesome. I hope you see some of those guys again, even though they're probably older than you. But that's crazy.
Yeah.
That's so awesome. I love it. Well, tell us about Australia. Are you so
Okay.
excited? What's happening? I guess what's happening from now until then?
Yeah, so we probably have like maybe 5 more camps left. It's a lot of time, but like with decentralized training as we do training by ourselves and all that kind of stuff. But the way we do it is decentralized. So we meet up like every month or 2 months, usually about 2 months. So about 5 training camps left. We have a lot to fit in that time, but we have the most talented team in the world. Jordan, Michael, Riley, and all it's just everybody, Pete, like all those guys that we play with, Natalie that you talk to, like all of them are just on the half of them are on the Mount Rushmore for what is power soccer greats. So we have all the talent, and it's all about gelling now, which we're doing. I love everybody on that team. I'm excited to go to war with them. Um, and really, at these training camps, it's just iron sharpening iron the whole time. We're just going at it head to head. It's so hard to tell if we're playing amazing or terrible because both teams are just so talented every time we go at it. So we have the best coaching staff in the world. We have the best players in the world. We have the best support in the world with our fans. Like I'm ready to go to war with these guys. I'm excited. Yeah, Australia's gonna be a good time.
Well, I'm so excited. My team is cheering for you from New York, the other side of the
Perfect.
world. But no, I'm so pumped. Definitely be watching from over
Yeah,
here. But yeah, and I love how much you love the team too. Like I can tell
yeah,
that USPSA is very family-like, very
yeah,
together, very I don't know, family. I can't say the word family enough, but very tight,
yeah,
close knit,
yeah, for sure.
which is great. But awesome. Okay, so I have a couple questions just kind of wrap up. I end the
Yeah.
show usually on some kinds of similar notes here. But first one, still about power soccer. What have you learned about yourself since playing this game?
I think the biggest thing I've learned is how to lead in a variety of positions, right? So I've had teams where I was the top dog and like it was my job to lead and kind of work with the younger guys and that kind of stuff. And now I've had teams where I played with my siblings and my job was to listen to them and kind of bring that crazy factor where I was just the younger brother, just loud, obnoxious, And then I have this Team USA role that we're working on fitting into now, where it's like I'm a part of this great machine. Like I do my job, and like that's what I do, and we win, and like that's the game plan. And so for me to figure out how to lead in those variety of ways, like one where I can be a leader, where I step up, uh, and just learning how to fit and do what's best for the team, um, is really what I think I've learned the most. And hopefully I'll be able to carry that after soccer, because soccer doesn't last forever. So hopefully I'll be able to carry that into the workforce and all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
For sure. You're saying all the right words: role models, mentors, leaders, leadership positions. I love this. Awesome. Okay, two more.
Okay.
First, why should people pick up power soccer or start playing if they haven't already?
Yeah. So I think my biggest thing is that there was a time where I thought I was too able-bodied to play any disabled sports. So I tried to play able-bodied sports, and I was surprisingly slower than the rest of the kids. I have a progressive disability, so I used to be able to walk pretty well, but I never was able to conceptualize why I would be slower than everybody else. So I forced that for a long time, and then finally I started playing wheelchair basketball and power soccer, and then I was able to compete, and I was able to have that what I always wanted, in that kind of competition. And then there was a time where I wanted to just play wheelchair basketball, and then eventually my disability progressed where I couldn't keep up. And there's always this thing where you don't want to move on to like the next thing, like you don't want to do it because you're scared it's like not as competitive or not. But it is the world stage that I get to play on. Like I get to play with the best athletes in the world and against the best athletes in the world, and I get to push myself every day. And if I was still trying to play wheelchair basketball, if I was still, God forbid, trying to play able-bodied sports, limping around on some kind of walker or something like that, and being some team manager or whatever, no offense to team managers, but you know what I mean. That kind of inspiration news article thing. That's not what I wanted. I wanted to win. I wanted to be a part of the team, and that's what power soccer gives me. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I hope that somebody hears that and listens and understands that they can do it too. I love that. Cool. Okay, last question for you. I end all of my shows on advice. So what piece of advice would you give to younger Zach?
Oh, calm down. Calm down. I was probably the advice that I still give myself every day. I probably should have picked up meditation a long time ago. I'm trying to get into that now, but not everybody's out to get you. Most of your coaches want you to be successful. Stuff like that. I was always very competitive, and so it made me butt head with a lot of people, specifically my siblings and my father, because my dad's been my coach for a long time. So that probably would be my advice: is just chill out a little bit, Zach. They want to help you.
That's great advice. I'm sure that younger Zach would really appreciate that.
Yeah, no, he'd probably be really mad if I heard it. If I told him that, he'd probably be mad at me. So
I'd like to think he would appreciate it. Maybe not now, maybe later, but
yeah.
one day. Awesome. Well, Zach, this was great. Thank you so much for sharing your story and giving me some of your time today.
Yeah, no, I had a fun. It was a great time. Yeah, thank you for having me on.
Zach, thanks so much for coming on and sharing your story with us. Stay tuned for one more episode on Adventures with Aggie featuring the United States Power Soccer Association with President of the USPSA, Steve Everett.